Hello, welcome to yet another video on SRID Cloud. In this video, we want to talk about how to expand, clone, and snapshot a persistent volume claim created by the OpenShift Data Foundation, which is self under the covers, by the way. So I'm going to show you how to create a persistent volume claim and attach it to your pod, and then expand it, and then verify it as well. And then we're going to repeat the same thing again, create a persistent volume claim, attach it to your pod, and then clone it, and then attach the cloned persistent volume claim to a second pod. And finally, we're going to do it again. We're going to create a persistent volume claim, attach it to your pod, and then take a snapshot. And then there are numerous things you can do with a snapshot. Like, for example, you can use it as a backup and restore tool and all that. But what I'm going to show you is somewhat simple and I think most useful. We're going to create a persistent volume claim out of the snapshot and then attach to your pod and then move on and then verify and all that. So let's get started. So first of all, let's look at the expansion use case. So this is the YAML file to create a file system persistent volume claim. You can do the same thing if you're interested in block storage as well, by simply replacing the storage class name at the end of this YAML file. So here we are going to create a read write once access mode persistent volume claim with a 10 gigabits of size. And then using this YAML file, the persistent volume claim can be attached and the pod can be created. So this pod uses a very simple popular web server image called NGINX. The persistent volume claim is mounted under varlib www.html. So if you prefer, you can always RSH or OC debug into this pod after creating it and then change directory to varlib www.html, and then you can see the folder. You can create a file and then you can delete whatever you want to do. And now our intention is to expand the persistent volume claim, because you may feel that the persistent volume claim created may not be large enough. So how to do that? Here is the syntax. So basically it is going back to the same YAML file used while creating persistent volume claim. Simply change the storage value from the previous value to 25 gigabits. You can change the YAML file and then you can do OC apply, or you can use the OC patch syntax to modify an existing artifact in OpenShift Data Foundation, or OCP in this case. And then when this is successfully done, you can always remote shell into the pod, and using the df command, you can verify whether the size has gone up or modified. So from this point onwards, you will have additional space in the persistent volume claim attached to the pod, so you can write a lot more data into it. So this is how you expand a persistent volume claim. As I said before, you can use it for both the block storage as well as file storage. So now let's switch to the next use case, and that is clone. So this is once again the same thing again. Create a persistent volume claim, and then we're going to attach it to a pod, just like what we did before. So now our intention is to clone this persistent volume claim for any reason, even for backup purposes or whatever the application workload workflow requires. So how to clone this persistent volume claim that is already attached to a pod? So use this syntax, use this YAML file actually. So in this YAML file, under specifications section, along with the access modes and resources, there is a new section called data source. And this is where you can specify the source persistent volume claim. So we created this PVC-test persistent volume claim in the previous step, and we are simply specifying it here so that it can be cloned. So you will end up with two persistent volume claims that are identical to each other at the time of cloning. So now we can do a lot more things with this cloned persistent volume claim, but what I'm going to show you is how to attach this cloned persistent volume claim to a second pod. There are no surprises here. It is exactly the same thing that we saw before. The number of use cases behind clone can be numerous, but the bottom line, this is how you clone the persistent volume claim. You can even clone a persistent volume claim even before it is attached to a pod. It's up to you. Now the final use case that I'm going to describe in this video is Snapshot. So once again, we're going to create a persistent volume claim. This is exactly the same thing that we saw before. And then attached to a pod, exactly the same thing again. And now we are going to create a snapshot of this persistent volume claim using this YAML structure. So it's very simple. The kind is volume snapshot, and under the source you specify the persistent volume claim against which you want to take a snapshot. And you should also specify the volume snapshot class name in this YAML file. In this case, the OpenShift Data Foundation will automatically create this snapshot class name, just like the other class name, the storage class name created during the deploy. So during the installation of OpenShift Data Foundation, both storage class name and also the volume snapshot class name will be created for you. So you don't have to do that. So after this, a snapshot will be created for you. So you can use it as a backup or rolling backup. You can take this, you can run this snapshot every hour or every day, or whichever that you feel is appropriate. So now once a snapshot is taken, it can be used to restore in case if there is a problem, in case if you lose the original persistent volume claim that is attached to a pod already or not attached to a pod already, whatever be the case. So the use cases once again behind snapshot can be numerous, but what I'm going to show is how to create a second persistent volume claim out of this snapshot. So here is a YAML file for it. And once again, the focus is in the data source section. You specify the kind as volume snapshot and the appropriate name, the snapshot name. And this particular persistent volume claim can be attached to a another new pod as well. Just to describe one of the possibilities behind snapshot. But then one final thought, what is the difference between snapshot and clone? A clone is a complete detached copy of the persistent volume claim. Once a clone is performed, the persistent volume claims, both of them, the original and the cloned, they will be on their own. So there will not be any links between them. They can be consumed in a separate manner. But in the case of snapshot, the original persistent volume claim and the snapshot will be linked so that you can use the snapshot as a backup and restore use case tool. There are a lot more to the snapshot, but I'm not going to cover all of them. There is a layering, and there is also a copy on write. All those things you can refer to the product documentation or Google about them. Or maybe in future I may create another video specifically on one of those topics. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned how to expand and clone and snapshot a persistent volume claim with the OpenShift Data Foundation, which is Ceph under the covers, by the way. But I understand that the same is true for any storage under Kubernetes. So thanks for watching, and I will be producing a lot more videos in near future, and I'll see you all in another video. Bye for now.